another episode of Small Town Expectations. My name is Brandi Rose. I'm here with my wonderful partner, Hales Bassing.
Hello.
We are here to bring you another small town story. This week is a really exciting one. It's a 12-year-old with her mom. It's a really, really great story. I'm excited for everyone to hear it. I think that it's something that will definitely inspire you. But first, we want to remind you to visit all of our social medias and follow us. You can do that on Facebook, on Instagram. Those are the two places that we post the most. We're the most active. But of course, you can always add us on Twitter and then follow us in other places like Snapchat. I'm Rad Brandi. And if you would like to tell people to listen to the podcast, also you can see lots of other fun photos on the website. It's radbrandi.com. That's where you can follow every other episode and also just see cool pictures of the folks who are on the podcast.
And as we mentioned a month ago, because I have been slacking a little bit and working kind of hard a little bit, we're getting ready to launch another platform, another form of media. So keep your eyes and ears and fingertips.
And spoiler alert, it's on YouTube. So we're working really diligently on getting all of the episodes up on YouTube where you can see the photos and also hear the podcast right there on our YouTube channel.
We'll probably have them up by the end of the week.
Yeah.
Because the theater's pretty slow this week.
Yeah. I would say definitely follow our Facebook, follow our Instagram where you can stay up to date on those sort of things. We're just stoked about all of the ways to bring these small town stories to just people in general.
Yeah.
And we'll cover any platform we can.
My students tried to make fun of me this week. I was telling them what we were doing, and they were like, just click on the iPod, and your phone comes with an iPod app on it. And I was like, have you ever tried to explain to Karen Morrison how to listen to Small Town Expectations?
That's a really good example. Okay, but seriously, I have walked more people through finding their podcast app on their phone than I ever could have imagined since we started this podcast.
So with a YouTube link, just copy and paste and send it in a text message.
That's right. And you know what? It's, your students are making fun of you and talking some smack, but honestly, folks who are in their young 20s just refuse to learn this kind of stuff. And so even they don't necessarily know how to find this. Oftentimes they don't even realize that they have a podcast app and then they're like, oh, and then they get into it.
Yeah.
But sometimes it takes a little while. And here we are.
There's a bit of learning. So we're going to talk about communities and schools and academia and all of that. But something that's been going on in my life this week is Farmington School District. We have a nonprofit fund group of people that's the Race to Educate. And so they're the ones that host that 5K or 10K. I don't know. I'm not a runner.
I think it's a 5 and a 10.
Every year, and it's just a fundraiser. And that money goes to teachers specifically for classroom supplies and off-campus training and anything like that. And so that's something, that's a community in its own. And it's cool that people are able to give in that way.
And I don't think you mentioned this. You're talking about Amazon Smile.
Right.
So what Haley is talking about is she went on to Amazon Smile and just kind of walked through all of these ways so that every time she orders from Amazon, it will benefit. I think they just give a small portion to whatever nonprofit a person chooses.
Yeah.
And so Haley's chosen Race to Educate each time she makes a purchase through Amazon, which is really neat. And of course, post it on social media and everything.
Yeah.
And that's just a cool way to get the word out.
Yeah. Well, and we have a lot of things. I don't know. Here's a totally different community that I'm sure we're going to address later. But we're doing the vagina monologues. And so my mom recently switched her smile.amazon.com account to benefit SAS. So that's another local, I think CN does big,
I think he does
HRC.
Yeah, he does HRC.
Human Rights Campaign.
So, and SAS, just in case you don't know what we're talking about, is Sexual Assault Services of Northwest New Mexico. That's another nonprofit that Amazon Smile can benefit. And then our friend Cian, he just gives to the national corporations. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that because, man, HRC is doing incredible things for the LGBT community.
It's cool.
It is.
I think I appreciate technology in that fact that you're able to do that.
Yeah.
And go and set up your mom's phone for it, and she doesn't even know that she's donating to it,
Yeah, for sure.
easy.
So what is the community this week, Haley, that you want to highlight?
Just the academics. So our guest on the show this week, she talks about how she's in Science Olympia and she does National Honor. What is it?
National History Day.
National History Day. And it's cool because she really goes into detail and explains that event. And I think it's really stinking important to have in our schools. And it's cool that they're exposing these kids to it at a young age. Mm-hmm. When the kids get to the high school and they have to do their senior project and they fail because they don't know how to get up and present in front of people,
right.
It sucks for those kids.
Yeah.
And it's painful to watch. So it's great that they're getting that experience at a young age and they're learning another way to learn.
And the projects that happen are incredible.
Yeah.
As an adult human, the knowledge that these young people have, it just is absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah.
The information that they can just give to another person about a particular topic or particular subject is incredible.
Yeah.
And you're going to hear a little bit from young Piper today about her National History Day project because it's absolutely amazing. But she's just an example of the young people here in this community. And I know that in whatever community you are finding yourself in right now, there's incredibly young, just absolutely amazing people who are under 15 years old.
Yeah.
Under 18.
Yeah.
I feel like junior high, middle school and high school, those people are just sometimes folks who get overlooked because they're young.
Right.
And it's really easy for adults to go, oh, well, you have so much more to experience and so much more. No, like, let's listen to them.
Yeah.
And let's take some information from them and make the world a better place.
And it's great. One of the girls or a couple of the kids in our theater program a couple years ago, Aaliyah did National History Day and she wrote a script and they reenacted it. And it was cool because they were able to build on those skills that they're creating in theater, and they were really able to excel because they were used to performing in front of people and they were used to reading and writing scripts and understand how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, always I think that we forget that they're not just regurgitating information. When you see students performing at National History Day or you hear about them doing science fair or something like that, you think, oh, well, they're just required to do those things. And so it's really not a big deal. No, they're putting a lot of extra time and a lot of extra effort into that.
Yeah.
And not only did Aaliyah bust her booty to get that script written, but she had folks who believed in her script and wanted to participate with her.
Yeah.
And she saw talent in whoever she chose and probably did really well.
Yeah, they did. They made it all the way to the state level at least.
Yeah. And I just want to recognize also last night, the Saturday night, what was it, March 8th, I guess? Mm-hmm. Was it March 9th?
Look at our new cat calendar.
It was March 9th.
We got courtesy Cian and Javi.
It's the best calendar ever. So yesterday, March 9th, we were able to go to the Science Fair Awards.
Regional Science Fair Awards.
They were presented in
The
Toronto
theater.
Crispin Performing Arts Theater. And we were able to be there because that's what Haley does. She runs it. And I just happened to be there with her hanging out. And so to see all of those young people going up and getting these awards, and not only that, to hear some of the categories that they're winning awards for, it blows my mind. It's absolutely insane. I was hearing names of students who are only in like 6th or 7th grade and they're winning first place in some of these things. And so they're beating out older students. And I think it's just something that we really need to take time and first of all, congratulate these young people for their hard work, but also just recognize that they deserve to be there.
Yeah.
One of the things that we talk about in this particular episode is the snow, because the snow really affected some of these competitions.
Yeah, out of town competitions.
Yeah. And the students that we personally know that were affected by this snow, canceling school and not being able to travel to Science Olympiad that was in another part of the state, all of those things were really devastating to these kids.
Yeah.
And it's something, again, that adults are just like, well, there's always next year. But in the moment, you worked so stinking hard on those projects. And Piper does such a great job at talking about how it's a team thing. She could have gone down and she could have competed by herself in her category. But she's like, that's not what it was about. It was about being a part of my team and supporting each other and competing together. And I was just, man, the knowledge that this girl drops is absolutely amazing. And I think it's something that, again, we need to take time, recognize, and just really be inspired by it and encouraged through it.
One of the cool points last night, and this is tooting a horn, not sure whose, was just that there were a bunch of kids that I have in children's theater, in the summertime theater. So I recognized a bunch of faces there, which is really cool. Like, not that they necessarily go hand in hand, but it's those types of students, that are in the performing arts and that are going far academically.
Sure.
One of the boys last night who got a lot of awards wasn't there because he was at the college performing Oliver.
Yeah.
So that was something cool to witness, I guess.
Yeah. It's neat. And it's neat to see those things overlap. Because, again, arts in most communities are something that just typically aren't funded very well.
Yeah.
And so, I hate to say it, but athletics oftentimes are put over performing arts and put over, not education, but because it's important for athletes to be, have really good grades and be those top students, because I think that that's real in every place. But it's the students who work really hard and go to all of these extra academia competitions that oftentimes aren't as recognized in the school as the athletes.
Yeah. And it should be.
Yes, absolutely. And so here we are recognizing and appreciating and lifting up all of the young people who participate in those extracurriculars that are performing arts, that are academic competitions, and putting extra effort into those things and doing stellar jobs in that area, because those are the future leaders of our country. They're the future leaders of this state, and they're the future leaders of our communities. And so I think this week we're going to ask you to tag somebody. Maybe send this episode to one of those young people that can be encouraged and can hear this and go, thanks, small town expectations. I don't know. I'm just kidding. But really... But really, they can hear this and go, yeah, you're right. Like, I did work really hard. And thank you for recognizing that. Or just kind of sit back and appreciate that. Because we're being really genuine. And we really do appreciate the hard work that folks put into those things.
Those smart kids scare me. These kids are smarter than me.
They are. Not going to lie. I'm just kidding. So tag somebody. Maybe post a photo of your kid or a young person winning an award and tell us what their award was. We would love to celebrate their win and celebrate their hard work. So you can do that, again, on any of our social medias, Facebook, Twitter, follow us on YouTube, not yet, but almost follow us on the YouTubes. And of course, you can always email us if you want to be a part of this podcast and you want to tell your story. Email us at smalltownpodcast@yahoo.com. In the meantime, take a listen. Here's Piper and Melissa. You're on Small Town Expectations. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Small Town Expectations. I have Melissa and Piper Reitz this week, and I'm excited that they're here. It's kind of a duo, and it's our first time doing a duo, which is really exciting, and their story together is something that's really special. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. But first, if you guys just want to say hello, that'd be great.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
So we're going to start off with Piper's story. Piper, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe how old you are and what school you go to?
Okay, I'm 12 years old, and I go to Heights Middle School.
Yes, and let's see, so you are the second youngest person that's been on this podcast. The first youngest was my nephew. He's 7, but so this is a much different conversation than it was with my 7-year-old nephew. So I'm excited to hear your story. So Piper, where were you born?
I was born in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Oh.
We lived there I was about 5 or 6 when we moved here, and I don't really remember living in Ann Arbor because I was so young when we went there.
Yeah.
When we lived there, but we visit Ann Arbor sometimes, and it's cool to see the house that we lived in.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really remember anything from when we lived there.
So you said you moved here when you were like 5 or 6?
Yeah.
Yeah. So whenever you go back, what are some of the things that you go back to see?
Well, my entire dad's side of the family lives there, so I see all of my aunts and uncles when I'm there, and my Nana, my dad's mom.
Okay.
And then I also get to see some of my cousins, and we sometimes see some of Mom's friends from when we were living there. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty cool to see all of that stuff.
Do they remember you?
They do, but I don't remember them. So.
That's cool. So just remember back to like when you were like 5 or 6 years old. Do you guys live in the same area that you've always lived in?
Yeah. Actually, it was a hard time moving here. We had to stay in Fort Collins, it was in Fort Collins. We lived in Fort Collins for like a month or 2 because the house wasn't ready, and so we went to like the zoo there. I mean, he lived with my mom's dad, and so that was interesting.
Yeah.
But no, we lived in our house since we moved here, so we haven't moved around at all.
So since being like 5 or 6, you pretty much have had probably some of the same friends growing up.
Yeah, I have. None of my friends have moved really, so all of my friends from elementary school and kindergarten are the same now.
Yeah.
One of my best friends that goes way back is my friend Jocelyn, and we met in 1st grade, and we're still good friends.
I think I know Jazz.
Jasmine Fear?
Yes,
Yeah.
I totally know her.
Yeah. So we're
She's
good
super
friends.
sweet. Cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's awesome. So one of the things that is really neat about what you do is you're a swimmer.
Yeah.
So kind of just before we started, we were kind of talking about you being on a really small swim team and what that might be like. Can you just share kind of some of those experiences of being on a swim team?
Yeah. So being on a small swim team is really nice because you get way more attention from the coaches, and your team's really more close than if you had a big team. Like some of the teams that we see when we go to bigger meets, like Grand Junction, which is in Colorado, like we see teams that bring 40 people and their actual team size is like 120, and I couldn't even imagine that because that's like triple the size of our team.
Right.
And it's really nice being on a small team because we're really close to each other, and we all, like, there's no one on the swim team especially, I'm in group 2, so we have 3 or 4 groups on our team. We have novice, group 1, group 2, and the high school group. And so I'm in group 2, and we have about 12 people, so all of us know each other, and we're all friends, so it's not like on a big team where there's like 40 people in your group, and you only know like a quarter of them, and you're not really close. But when we go to swim meets, it's different because we see teams that are huge, and our team, some meets, we only have 5 swimmers there, and we see teams that have 40 swimmers at every meet, and it's just crazy to us because our team only has 40 swimmers at all, and so to see teams that can bring 40 of their best swimmers to just a simple meet is crazy.
Yeah. And you love swimming.
I do.
Right?
I've swam since I was 7 about, and I just haven't stopped. I've met some of my best friends on the team. My friend Saskia, my friend Presley. Me and Sissy met like when I first joined the team, and me and Presley met in age group 2. So, and they're really nice people, and they're also really good swimmers. So you meet good people on the team.
That's cool. What's your favorite stroke?
Oh, well, I'd have to say my favorite stroke is butterfly, and everyone on the team makes fun of me for that because it's the hardest stroke, and everyone's like, how could that be your favorite stroke? You're crazy. And I'm like, I don't know, it just comes to me naturally. And my friend Presley, she's always like, on Instagram, she's always sending me these pictures like 200 fly, awful, like it's a whole body pain, and I'm like, Presley, I haven't even done the 200 fly yet. So they're always making fun of me for that. But I also love backstroke and freestyle, but I hate breaststroke.
Yeah. Well, because that's only arms, right? That's no legs.
No, it is arms and legs, but I'm like super slow in that stroke.
Oh, okay.
So I only swim it when I'm trying to go easy.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So how long have you been swimming competitively?
I'd say the first year I swam, I wasn't competitive, so probably 3 or 4 years competitively.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And competitive is a lot different than just regular swimming just on a team, because if you're swimming just on team, not competitively, there's not as much like I say there's not as much as excitement and like pressure to. I mean, it's nice to swim not competitively, but also if you swim competitively, you get to see other swimmers, and like you get to look more at technique. Like one of the things my coach always says is, when you're like he always says, as soon as I finish my event, he's like, look at these swimmers, look at how their stroke is, and looking at their technique, so that way I can build from that. So it's nice to look at other swimmers when you're swimming at meets, and that's one of the bonuses.
Yeah.
And another thing is that, I mean, you get to travel, you get to go fun places with your friends, and it's really exciting to swim competitively. So I like swimming competitively more than uncompetitively.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome. Do you swim year-round, or is it just...
I do
like,
swim
is it a
year-round.
small season?
No, I swim year-round. So I swim about 4 days a week, every week, the entire year. And it is really tiring. And I definitely always have a lot of sore muscles.
Yeah.
But oils always help me. Like Deep Blue, it's one of my favorites. I'll have my mom or my grandma, Mimi, I'll have them massage me with the Deep Blue, and it helps me a lot. Like I went skiing yesterday, and I fell on my neck, and I used Deep Blue today, and it already feels a lot better.
Nice.
So
That's awesome.
I'm glad, because I have state coming up soon. So.
Yeah, definitely. So you want to be healthy.
Yeah.
Where did you go skiing yesterday?
We go to skiing at Purgatory, and we actually just started skiing last year, so we're new to it. But we've been taking lessons, and we took lessons last year, and we're taking lessons this year, and then we're just going to ski just for fun, because with swimming and everything, it's really hard to go to lessons every single weekend and have to do swim meets and want to do other fun stuff. So we're going to stop doing lessons next year.
Cool. So just a... like, the snow is crazy right now.
Yes, I got buried, and I fell down, and the snow was above my head, and I had to reach my head up to get air. I mean, it was crazy, and my dad had to pull me out of the snow to get me out.
Oh my gosh.
It was really crazy.
So are you going on blues or just mostly greens?
I do blues and blacks. But I like blues more because I can push myself more.
Okay.
But if I'm doing blacks, I usually try to be more cautious because I don't want to hurt myself. So I prefer doing blues.
Yeah, because blues you can just kind of go fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, going fast is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. I started skiing probably when I was around your age. And then when I was in 8th grade, I think was the first time I went snowboarding. And then I just snowboard now. So
I'm afraid to snowboard because I'm tall. So I feel like if I tried to snowboard, I would lose my balance too easily.
Skiing is super fun too.
Yeah.
So good choice.
If I have no balance. And all of my friends in this town, like there is so many people in this town who are dancers, and all my friends are dancers, and I'm like, I don't have a chance at dancing because I'm too clumsy, and I would lose my balance all the time.
Yeah. Jazz is a dancer.
Yeah.
Right?
I think only 3 of my friends aren't dancers.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. One of them is a soccer player, and the other 2 are swimmers.
Wow, so you have a pretty eclectic little group of friends.
Yeah. My friend Ashby is a soccer player, and then I have Sissy and Presley for swim friends, and then I have Jaslyn. I have a lot of friends at school. Those 2 are my biggest friends, but I also have my friend Abigail. All 3 of them are dancers, and then I know like 6 other people at school who are dancers. So I mean, there's a big dancing community here.
Yeah, it is cool, and you have a lot of friends, and it's cool because you guys all are interested in different stuff.
Yeah.
So that's really neat.
I meet a lot of people doing groups like NHD and Science Olympiad and even Science Fair, and it's cool because you get closer with those people working on your projects together and sharing ideas.
Yeah.
Like I met Ashby this year, and we really became good friends. We're in advanced math together, and we're in advanced 7th grade math, and we're the only 2 girls that are 6th graders in that class, and everyone else is 7th graders, and so it's like intimidating, but we help each other, and so we really became good friends by being in that math class, and we do NHD together, and we're actually next year we're gonna do a play together for NHD.
Oh, nice.
So I'm really excited for that.
Cool. So tell us a little bit. So NHD stands for National History Day.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about just National History Day in general, and then I want to specifically talk about your project for this year.
Okay, so National History Day is like this big event. There is district, regionals, state, and then nationals. And so I did district, and it was just my school, the people who competed for NHD, and there was like 12, or it was like more like 20, actually 20. And so it was all the gifted students because most other kids don't know about it, but it's a really cool opportunity. So they have a topic every year, and this year is Triumph or Tragedies.
Okay.
But most people did a project about triumph and tragedies, and that usually gets more of it gets you higher points, and like it's more interesting if you do triumphs and tragedies. Your project has to connect to the topic. And so it's this competition. There's 5 categories. It's writing, so you write a paper about it. It's a documentary, so you use iMovie to make a documentary about it. You can make a website, and so that is where you go on to, they have like this place where it's called Weebly, and so like they have a specific thing, and you can only make your website on Weebly, and it's like called NHD Weebly, and like you can only make your website there, and it like closes off as it gets close to the competition. So like a week before regionals, I think, all the websites closed down and you couldn't work on yours. So the websites were like, I didn't do a website, I did a documentary, but the websites were like really stressed because so district happened, and then a week later, the websites shut down. So as soon as district happened, everyone who had a website was working like night and day to get their website done. But then after that, they were done. And that was, and then I had to work on mine a lot longer. And then there's also performance. Actually I think there's only 4, those 4. And so it's really cool because it's 20 years past. It's like, it has to be 20 years in the past. And so you get to really learn about history that you never really even knew had happened.
Yeah.
And so the first week that we started working on NHD and Gifted, we all research stuff, because they on their website they put up a sheet, like a preview of a bunch of different topics for that. And so everyone was looking at them and researching stuff. And so I chose mine as Bloody Sunday.
Okay.
And so with National History Day, it's not really like you choose that topic, you only research that topic. It's, you have to think about the past and what that has led to the present. And so for mine, it was Bloody Sunday, and I had to look, like, it was about voting rights, and it was a huge march. And so there was actually one march before it and one march after it about voting rights, and it was a Selma to Montgomery march. And it, it's really, you can't just talk about that. You have to research around it and think about the consequences of that and what has led to that.
Right.
Like, if we hadn't had that march, then Black people still wouldn't have had voting rights, and it would have been way different. And so I had to research what had become of it, like what led to that and everything. And it's a really big project, but it's really worth it because you get to learn about someone or something that's really important in history, and it's a really interesting thing.
Cool. So how did you do your project specifically? So you researched everything, and then what did you do?
Okay, so I went on iMovie, and I, at the time, had absolutely no idea how to work iMovie. I actually at first was going to do a website, but my teacher convinced me to do a documentary, and I was really stressed. I was like, but I don't know how to do this. But I'm actually really glad that he did. His name's Mr. Akins, and he's a really good teacher, and he really pushes us.
Cool.
And so I'm glad to have a teacher like that. But for mine, so I went on iMovie, and I had to figure out how to work iMovie, and so that was just like an extra stress, and I was like, oh my gosh. But eventually I got the hang of it, and so I used, I can't remember exactly the name of it, but it's like this tool on our computers, because in middle school we get our own computers, and it's really helpful to us. But it's this tool, and it lets you take screenshot, it's almost like a screenshot video. So you play it, and it screenshots the entire video until you stop it. And so I did that, and I took multiple videos, and I just put those all together, and I had voiceovers just talking about everything that led to Bloody Sunday. And what led to Bloody Sunday was the death of Jimmy Lee Jackson. And so I talked about that, and it was talking about specific people too. One of the biggest contributors to Bloody Sunday was President Lyndon B. Johnson and Representative John Lewis. And so I'm actually, for state, I'm trying to get in contact with John Lewis, but I haven't been successful yet. But if I can't, then that's okay. But it's just, I'm really trying to show what happened about Bloody Sunday and how important this event was. And so I showed all three marches, because the first march was actually, the first march was Bloody Sunday. And then the second march, so Bloody Sunday was an event where people marched from Selma to Montgomery, but they got stopped on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, and they got shot at. Luckily, no one was killed, but, the police officers beat them and released tear gas and trampled them with horses, and it was a really tragic event. And then the second one, Martin Luther King Jr. was there, and he led the march. And so for that one, they just went to the bridge, they asked permission to pray, and they got it, and then they prayed and left. But you would have think, oh my gosh, they didn't even end up doing it, but actually it was a big success for them, because they weren't beaten like they were the first time, and so it was they were really happy for that. And then the third march, Lyndon B. Johnson really started to contribute then, and no one had thought that he would be a president to support the Black people, because he was Texan and completely white, and like you would think that he wouldn't support racism, but he actually did. And so like he wanted to stop racism.
Right.
And so he really contributed to the Third March, and he let them go all the way from Selma to Montgomery, and then that is when the Voting Rights Act, that's what started it to get passed.
That's cool.
And so I really loved researching it, and I can't wait to fix my project up to do for state, and so it's gonna be really exciting.
Yeah.
But not enough people can do National History Day, and I think more people really should, because there was so our competition at our district competition was just our school, and it was pretty. I mean, you couldn't just easily get through, but we went to regionals, and there was no competition. It was our school, so everyone who went to regionals made it to state.
Oh my gosh.
So I mean, none of the other schools did it.
Wow.
And I was surprised by that. I would expect the other schools to contribute to that. The only other middle school was one kid from Hermosa who wrote a paper.
Okay. So now you get to go to state. Where's state at?
State is I think it's in Albuquerque or Santa Fe.
Okay.
And I'm thinking it's going to be a lot bigger since it's all of them, but I'm really excited for state because Ashby's going to be there, so I get to be surrounded by my friends.
Yeah.
And both of the gifted teachers will be there, Mr. Akins and Miss McKay, and they're really good teachers, and they really try to support you. And so I'm happy that they'll be there, but it's going to be I'm really excited for it because the judges said that my project, they really loved it. And the thing about me is I think that my projects aren't as good as they actually are. I was like, when I was watching mine, I was like, I heard what they said. They were saying like, oh my gosh, yours is so good. It almost has a chance to get to nationals. And I was like, what? I was just like, this can't be true. And I was like, I don't even like watching it.
Really?
I put it together and I had to watch it a few times through, but when other people asked to watch it, I'm like, you can go ahead and watch it, but I'm not going to watch it with you.
Speaking of watching it, you got to send your video to the Roundhouse, right? New Mexico is in legislation right now, and we call it the Roundhouse in New Mexico, where all of the House of Representatives and the everybody, all the lawmakers go to Santa Fe during this time, and you got to show your video to them.
So what happened is that everyone who made it to state from regionals was invited to the Roundhouse. And the person who, I don't remember her exact name, but she was setting this all up, and she said, I absolutely love she sent me a personal email and said, I absolutely love your video. She actually used my video to set up the system. And so she watched it 10 times, and she said she never got tired of watching it. And she sent me a personal video saying, I really hope you come to Roundhouse. And I was like, I sent her an email back saying, I do not feel up to going to the Roundhouse because I'm working on Science Olympiad right now. And so she said, I hope you do great on Science Olympiad, but would you be okay if I showed your video on the Roundhouse anyway, just so that way everyone can see it, because it's a really good example of what you can do with National History Day. And so, of course, I said yes.
Awesome.
And I just felt really proud that she thought my video was so good and good enough to where even though I wasn't there to show it without me, and so I was really happy that she decided to do that, because although I wasn't there, my video was still shown, and so it felt like my topic was still being represented, and it was really cool.
Yeah, and not only, you know, are they getting to learn about Bloody Sunday and everything that went into those marches, but also you kind of became the example for other kids in New Mexico to compete in this. I mean, you said there was only like 12 or so people who competed for National History Day in middle school, right?
Yeah.
And so hopefully you have encouraged other students to compete and to try this, because I feel like you learned a lot, number one, and it was fun.
Yeah,
right?
It was definitely really fun. And one of the funny things is that in my category, so I was in documentary individual, because there's difference between group and individual, and there was no one else in my category. So I immediately made it to state.
Yeah.
And so I was bummed by that, because I was like, I wish I would have had more competition.
Sure.
But
because you're a competitor,
yeah,
for sure.
Definitely. But then again, I was like, I'm glad that I get to go to state, but there was no competition there besides our school, and I was just sad that no one else had the opportunity to do this, and they weren't shared by this, and that they hadn't seen that this had happened, and this was an opportunity. But I've been trying to spread the word, and Jazz is going to do it next year,
cool.
And I'm hoping that a lot more of my friends are going to try to do it, because it's a big thing, and it's really important for people to know about some of these topics in history.
For sure.
And so for people to present stuff like that, it's really cool.
Yeah, it is good. So tell us a little bit about Science Olympiad.
Okay, so Science Olympiad is like really cool. I mean, really cool.
Okay.
So it's open. There was a lot of people at regionals for Science Olympiad, like a lot. And I think every single middle school made it through. Like they had enough spots in our district to where every single middle school made it through to state, and I thought that was really cool. So Science Olympiad is this, so there's it's this big competition, and it's all about science, and so there's let's say 20 to 30 events, and you just get to choose whatever event you want. And so I did 4 events at first, because I was like, this is so cool, I get to research all this stuff. And so I researched density lab, and it's all about density and thermodynamics. And I also did write it, do it, and I can't remember the other one I did at first, because I didn't end up competing in that one at all, but everyone was like, oh, we should do this, and my teachers were like, remember, we have to have it spread across the board. There has to be someone in every event. And so we did really good at regionals. It was a lot of people, and it was just, we had 15 students here, and other classes had 30, and we were like, how are we going to compete against them? And so when we were, one thing for thermodynamics is we had to make a device and test it, and so me and my friend Ivana, we were partnered up for thermodynamics and density lab, and so we were really researching together, and we built our device, and we tested a lot, and it was a really good device, and we ended up placing first in thermodynamics, and so that was really exciting for us. And then we placed second in density lab, and I didn't place in Write It, Do It, but I wasn't as bummed by that, because I was partnered up with someone I didn't even really know, and so I didn't know what they would be thinking and stuff like that. But we got second in the district for our team. Okay. And this is really a team thing. So Density Lab, Science Olympiad, it's a team competition. Our team couldn't have made it with just me and Ivana. All the points added up for all of the things your team won and did good in, and went in. Yeah. And so we're a small school, and we didn't have our school didn't really they really liked Science Olympiad, but they didn't really support it as much as track or stuff like that. So we didn't have as many supplies as we would have liked, and so we didn't do as well in the lab events. Potions and Poisons is this huge lab event where you're supposed to bring your own equipment, and we didn't even bring any equipment because we didn't have it. But we still did really good. And then state was supposed to be this weekend, but it was canceled because of the snow day on Friday.
Yes.
And so we were all super bummed and sad that that had happened.
Right.
But and there was the option for us since it had gotten canceled. Parents, well, we were all really mad, and they said, well, if you want to, not the entire team's not gonna be able to go down, but you can go down, like your parents can drive you down and just be the coach. And I'm like, I don't want to do that because I couldn't have made it this far without my team, and so I didn't end up going, and so we were all really bummed because we had worked so hard towards getting to state, and like we had worked until 4:30 every school day, and even on the weekends and stuff, and so it was really sad that we didn't get to go. But they're thinking about having a competition in Farmington because so many district schools were canceled, and so we're really hoping that that happens.
Cool. So this really was a huge deal, right, in our community. Just in
every
general.
single school had a group, and
Yes.
so it was every middle school and every high school had a group, and so there was like 200 to 300 students.
It was a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So looking back on it, what do you feel like you learned from this event being canceled? Like what have you learned about it, and what can you do next time? Do you know what I mean? Like how has this grown you, Piper?
Oh, well, I learned like stuff that I think I'll never learn in actual school. And so I've learned a lot about science and density and thermodynamics. I've learned about the laws of thermodynamics. I've learned about density and buoyancy and all these crazy things that you wouldn't learn until like you're in 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade. And it's like, it's a really cool learning opportunity. And next year, I'm probably still going to do density lab and thermodynamics, but I'm going to really try to research it more because this year we printed out so many notes, like, because for each of those we got a binder full, and so I feel like next year I'm definitely going to study those notes more because I feel like we really just had the notes, like we didn't really study them as much as I would have liked. Like we saw this, like we would see what we needed to find, we'd find a website, we would copy and paste because there was so much information you need to learn. And so next year I'd hope to like look into it more and so there's some topics where you can only have one sheet of paper for a really challenging test, and I'd hope to do one of those next year, so that way I can really learn more about it, because I feel like that really pushes you to learn more about the topic.
Yeah. So do you feel like this getting canceled and not being able to compete statewide, do you think that's taught you something just about yourself?
Yeah. As soon as I heard the news, I just burst out crying because I was so sad. And I actually thought that I wouldn't be that sad, but I learned that I was actually really bummed that had happened.
Yeah.
So I did learn that I'm actually way more into science than I had thought.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a bummer.
Yeah, it
to
is.
be looking
Like,
forward to something. And
the district let down like 300 kids with English Expo, so 300, 400 kids for not letting them go. And so it was really a bummer, and I was sad that they had canceled school because I thought that they should have only done a snow delay.
Yeah. So for next year, you're not giving up.
No.
And you're like, this isn't going to hold me back just because I couldn't compete at state and do all of those things. Also, can I just tell you, I really admire you for saying, it's great that my parents are going to take me down, but this is a team thing and I just don't feel comfortable competing without my team. That's character. And I really admire that in you, Piper. That's cool. That you recognize that it's a team and that you needed your team to compete in this. Yeah. That's neat. So
I thought that I couldn't have even qualified for state without my team.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's really like you're with your team an hour every day and you really learn who they are. And what they're like, and so I was really bummed we didn't get to go on the trip with them and everything, but I mean, hopefully the next year. I know everyone who's not going to high school is going to stay with Science Olympiad, and even more with 6th graders coming in next year. My brother's going to do it next year, and so I'll probably do a topic with him.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so
cool.
That way we can hopefully get along better.
So this is going to be like a family practice.
Yeah.
How old is your brother?
He is 10 years old. He's in 5th grade. He's young. He was supposed to be in 4th grade, but he's also really smart. And so my mom and dad put him in kindergarten when he was 4.
Yeah.
4. So he was young, but he's really smart, and he's made a lot of good friends in elementary school, like his friend Aiden, who's a really good person.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. So are you looking forward to working with him next year?
I think so, yeah. To see, like, what he... I guess you really get to learn... really get to know more... Learn more about a person doing this, because you learn more about their studying, what they do to study, what they already know. Like, my friend Ivana knew stuff I was like, what? So it's really cool to meet up with these people and to compete with them.
Yeah. Well, that's really neat. And I want you to definitely talk about, you mentioned a little bit about oils earlier, and I want to hear more about oils, and that's something that you do with your mom. So we're going to bring your mom on and have her introduce herself and just say a little bit about where you grew up and kind of what brought you to this area.
So I'm Melissa, Piper's mom. I could listen to her all day.
Me too.
This is like
so good.
the best part of this interview. So thank you for having us on. It was really enjoyable for me. So I am a family nurse practitioner, and I actually grew up in Fort Collins, Colorado. So that's one of the reasons why we moved back to this area. We had lived in Michigan for 11 years, where my husband...
You got sick of the humidity.
not a fan of the Midwest. Sorry, anyone from the Midwest who's listening to this. I'm glad you are living there and not me. And so I was just ready to come back to the West, and I had been a nurse practitioner doing specialty care for about 8 to 9 months, and I was offered a job at Presbyterian Medical Services.
Okay.
So they moved us here. I really wanted to live in the middle of a reservation area, and my husband said that we needed to compromise.
So Farmington was the compromise.
Yes. So we both knew we wanted to live in a smaller area. We both knew that we wanted to, our kids were little, they were 4 and 5 when we moved here, and we knew that we really wanted to feel like we were a part of a community. We'd moved from Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is a larger city, and while we felt some of that community, it wasn't the same as what we had both grown up with. Because when I grew up in Fort Collins, it was much smaller than it is now. So we moved here, and it'll be 7 years in July. So we've been here for 7 years. Yeah. So I stayed at Presbyterian Medical Services for about 3.5 years, and really had an incredible experience there. The patients I cared for were amazing, and developed some really strong relationships with providers and the women and men I worked with, and ended up sort of specializing in women's health a little bit. When I was there, I always knew I started my career as an OB nurse in obstetrics, so I knew that women's health was something I was passionate about, and then kind of transitioned into that because of just the universe, energy, I don't know, whatever it is that you believe in, divine grace, and ended up, and now I work at Pinion Family Practice, and I'm the women's health specialist there. So yeah, it's great. And I also work for sexual assault services. I've been a sexual assault nurse examiner, I think for 10 years now. I've worked in sexual assault since I was really 18. When I started college, I worked as an advocate on campus, and so that's been something that is part of, I don't know how to, it's just a part of who I am
Yeah.
to do that work.
And you're so good at it.
Oh, I love it.
So for real, yeah. Well, cool. So, so one of the things that you and Piper share is kind of the love for essential oils. And so I would just love for you guys to kind of share that journey. I think would be really cool.
Okay, so one of the best things about oils for me is that it really helps me with my swimming and my skiing because, man, I get hurt and I pull muscles a lot. And Deep Blue, I mean, it just heals it.
I need to check out this Deep Blue, apparently.
Both my mom and my Mimi, my mom, actually, she did, go to college for a little while to be a massage therapist, right?
Yeah, I actually became a massage therapist. Yeah.
And then my Mimi did too. And so my Mimi's actual job is being a massage therapist. So it's really nice to have them because, I mean, anytime I need a massage, I can just ask one of them and they'll massage deep.
And they know what they're doing.
Blue. Yeah. They'll massage me with Deep Blue and then magically the next day I'll be like, oh, this doesn't hurt anymore. We're good. And so another thing is that oils help me with stress because with all the groups I do and school, especially with middle school, with more classes and everything, it helps bring down the stress. And when I'm asleep at night, I usually put Serenity in my diffuser, and it'll help me go to sleep.
Cool.
So.
Yeah. So we have been using oils for a very long time. My mom has used essential oils as long as I can remember through my pregnancy with Piper, breastfeeding, always. And then as I was working at Presbyterian Medical Services, I had patients that actually came in with Deep Blue and told me I had to use this product. And so I was like, okay. So we started, that was our first product that we used. And then
we got bigger with it. And she started working with doTERRA and selling it. And it was really cool to see this new resource that could help with sore muscles and stress and anxiety and depression and cleaning and like all these different things that you use pills for, you can use a more natural method.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons to do it, was to help my family really more than anything, and I wanted my kids to be able to clean my house.
Yeah.
And be comfortable with that. And so we sit and create our cleaning products. We create our gifts for family and friends, and it's really something that we get to do together, and I know it's safe for both Piper and her brother. And it's a business on the side for me to do, and then when she turns 18, it will be something that, should she choose to, she can kind of roll in. And my mom, her Mimi, is actually a part of that as well. So it's actually like kind of 3 generations, and to use a product that we really believe in, and that I do a lot of prescribing.
Yeah.
So to not to do something outside of prescribing is really is just lovely and makes me feel.
Yeah. One of the best thing about cleaning with oils is like when I use Clorox wipes in school, and like the difference between like toilet bowl cleaner, like the chemical stuff and the natural stuff. I mean, I have sensitive skin, and so when we first moved here, we didn't really use it as much, and like even when I was 8, we didn't use it as much, and so when I would clean, I would use the chemical stuff like Clorox and that sort of thing, and the smell was overpowering, and I would always and it was the smell, and like it would just inflame. It smelled so bad, and it wasn't good for your skin and anything, and using the oils, it cleans just as good, and yet you want to smell it. It's not like the Clorox where you're like, you're like far away, like your hands extended.
Have to open a window or something, huh?
Or your hands like completely extended and you're spraying it, hoping it doesn't get close to you because of the stench and everything. And so that's one of the best things about cleaning with oils.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we started doing our Facebook lives that
Like last year, like
yeah, it just kind of happened the first time where Piper was around when I was doing a live. And
Yeah.
she has a lot of things to say. so it just seemed natural that there would be that she would be a part of it. It just kind of happened naturally. There wasn't a plan. There wasn't a lot of thought into that other than she happened to be there at that time, and then she enjoyed it. So we kept doing it.
as you got deeper into using the oils, we tried to include Mimi and me in it, and so that's really how I became included with it. And so that's really what got us to the lives, because like as she was trying to get more people, she knew that having someone like me on would probably help more people get interested in it.
Because you're good at it too. and for somebody young to be so interested in something like this, you are just automatically intrigued by it.
Yeah.
So
it's
your mom
really,
had a good thought.
it's really cool to like make the roller balls and make the sprays. Like she has classes every month, and so I can't go to them because of swim practice. But at first I went to them, and it was cool to like help people make the roller balls and help everyone choose what they should use for this thing. And yeah.
Well, it's good stuff. And so one of the things that we'll do is, because I just really think your guys' live videos are really great. And I feel like, have you guys cooked stuff yet? Yeah. I'm like, I feel like I've seen some cooking stuff.
I love baking.
Yes, we have, we have peppermint and lemon, and I've cooked with both of those before. Because you have to have a very specific type of oil to be able to cook with it, right?
Yeah.
So, because some people might think you could just use anything, but it's more specific and special to cook with it.
Like you couldn't cook with, you wouldn't want to cook with On Guard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's definitely some blends that you wouldn't cook with. Yeah, I think that would be a weird. You can. So you can only take certain oils internally, like for internal use.
Yes.
So that was another reason for me why I started doing this work, because I found that a lot of people were using essential oils not correctly for their health, and they were like either dousing themselves in the oils, which I don't recommend.
Yeah.
Oils should last you a really long time. We don't go through oils very quickly in our house.
We have like 100 bottles.
We have a lot of oils. We have many oils, every type of oil. But I wanted to do this work as service because our family's healed. I've seen other people heal, but I also, as a healthcare professional, want to see people using the essential oils appropriately.
Yeah.
And I found that when I was speaking to patients, a lot of patients won't even talk to their provider about their use of oils or supplements or various healing modalities because they're scared. And I didn't want to have that in my practice. And so because of that, patients would tell me how they were using their oils. And then I took it upon myself to learn more because I wanted to learn more about the supplements, the oils, the nutritional, the keto, whatever it is that they're doing. I wanted to learn more about so I could be educated and hopefully help them to understand that maybe they